A very special good evening to my Aunt Sally and the rest of the immediate family of the late Percy Williams. On behalf of my wife Lenore and I, and the rest of the family of the late Raymond and Inez Williams, our heartfelt condolence goes out to you. Know that our prayers are with you during this very difficult time. Every so often, the sovereign God chooses to bless a family with a giant of a man. Uncle Percy was God's blessing to our family. He exemplified all the true characteristics of manhood, evident by the 4 P's of a man, in that he was a provider, a protector, a prophet, and a priest to his family. Like everyone else, I was saddened to learn of his tragic passing and pondered the age-old question, why did such a bad thing happen to such a good person? To add the insult to injury, due to the pandemic, we are unable to travel to pay our last respect. 1 Corinthians 2:11 reminds us that the things of God knoweth no man, but the Spirit of God. My earliest recollection of Uncle Percy was in Lake City, Abaco, when he would come to our house every evening to spend time with Daddy and Mommy. Uncle loved my mom very much, who was his big sister. He and Daddy became more like brothers. Naturally, their friendship spread to us, the children, as we grew like sisters and brothers also. Uncle Percy was a hard worker and a good provider for his family. I was told of the time when, while working for Owen, Illinois, he was jacking up a house and the jack slipped and pinned him under the house, and it was several hours before a rescue came. He had a scar on his chest to prove it. He further escaped another occasion when a dump truck that he was driving overturned. This time, he just suffered a broken toe. I remember when Uncle Percy bought his first car. It was clearly a 4-door white Ford. And Daddy also brought a car, a blue and white 2-door Ford. They were just alike. They were so proud of their new cars that on Sunday we would go on long drives, which seems to take like hours, to Cherokee Sound Beach. They were the good days. The only thing we didn't do together was church. You see, Daddy and Mommy, they were Baptists, and Uncle Percy, they came up prophecy or jumper, and we never came together on that issue. Time brings changes, and we had to move from Abaco to Grand Bahama. It wasn't long after Owen, Illinois moved to Andros. Then Uncle Percy and his family moved to Grand Bahama also, at which time we were reunited. In Grand Bahama, we continue our long Sunday drives to the Garden of the Grove and on various beaches. Those were really fun times. While the adults chat, the kids played. Uncle Percy always had the entrepreneurship spirit and mindset. He went into a business venture with Daddy when they purchased a public bus. It didn't work out, but they formed a great bond. Just as they were inseparable, the children were also inseparable. This failed business venture did not deter Uncle Percy. He joined forces another time, this time with 6 other members of the family, and built a boat called the Victory 8. It was a 80-foot long motor vessel that was built for the purpose of transferring cargo backward and forward from Turks and Caicos Island to Grand Bahama and vice versa. Well, this was not to be, as it ran aground on its maiden voyage on Rum Cay. Despite what many may consider a tragedy, the memories and bond forged with our family are priceless. Uncle Percy was a kind and a considerate person. Whenever he would travel to the United States, he would purchase bulk of sewing material for my mom, who was a seamstress. She would make dresses alike for my sisters and his girls. When they went out, they all looked like sisters. Uncle Percy at the time had only girls until Ron came along. Uncle was always patriotic. He wanted to return to his native land, and he did. He was determined to lay a foundation so that all of us could return home someday to a more developed Turks and Caicos Island. I would say Uncle Percy, as he worked with the Provo Construction Company, became one of the best heavy-duty equipment operator that you could find. Through his profession and road building, he developed and built many roads in the Turks and Caicos Island. Before he retired, he passed that gift on to his son-in-law, Bishop Alvin Harvey, and his nephew, the late Wesley Tanker Williams. Uncle Percy was also known as one of the best trumpet players in the Church of God of Prophecy Band. He was a powerful man of God, even though he never preached a sermon from the pulpit. But his life living was so powerful that it became the only Bible that many persons would have ever read. So there, he was a powerful man of God. He was sometimes characterized as being hard, but nobody could say he was not fair. He did not speak just to say something, but because he had something to say. In the past, when I would visit the Turks and Caicos Island, I would go to his house for potato bread, and if he didn't have none at the time, he or Aunt Sally would bake one, and I would get a call to come and collect it later. When I went to the Turks and Caicos Island in 2007, Uncle Percy did all in his power to make me feel at home, and I did. He was also prepared to do whatever it took to make sure that I stayed. When my job came to an end, and Uncle Percy learned that I was about to return to Freeport, he offered to purchase a taxi for me to run so I would be able to make a living and stay in Provo. This was the kind of person he was. As adults, we now have our families, and our lives will take different direction. We, as siblings and our generation, we must maintain his legacy of having good family relationship and bond as he would want us to do so. When our mother, his big sister, passed away, Uncle Percy made it a point to bring us comfort by assuring us that the passing of Mommy would not change our relationship. He was still our uncle and will be there for us. I would conclude this with the 4 P's of a man, just as I started. He was a provider. He provided for his family, and he taught them well. You see it in the success of their lives. He was a protector, even at the cost of his life. He was a priest of his family, and he sought God on the behalf of them. He was the prophet of his family, as he heard from God and gave it to them. And Sally and the children, please remember, in case there is a time when you just need a chair, in case there's a problem you would like us to hear, in case there's a favor you would like us to do, we are here if you need us to help see you through. Be comforted and be consoled in the word of Jesus, who said, I will never leave you or forsake you. I will always be with you. When sovereignty allows unpleasant things to happen, it is also not normal. It is always for a purpose. May the soul of my Uncle Percy rest in peace and rise in glory. Amen.